Right now, you're probably thinking, my team is doing just fine. But underneath the surface, hidden performance gaps are costing you and your business big time. In this video, I want to show you exactly how to spot hidden underperformance and give you a simple, actionable, no fluff plan on what to do about it. So if you have this sneaking feeling that somehow your team could be performing better, but you're not sure where or what to do about it, this is the video for you. So first off, how do we spot underperformance? Because on the surface, our team is working really hard, right? On the surface, they're knocking out their tasks, they're working really hard, they show up every day, they do a good job, but I don't know, I just have this feeling that they could be doing better, or maybe things are slowing down. One person I know is struggling, but I don't know where or how to help them. The problem is that these are all feelings. This is just an intuition, and we need to turn this into clear, tangible gaps that we can identify and we can fix. So the first thing we need to do is shift our focus from inputs to outputs. Inputs are things like tasks and meetings. Your team showing up, working hard, and putting all of the inputs into the machine. But the question isn't how hard are they working? The question is, what is the outcome, the output that work is producing for my business? Underperformance happens where our team might be working just as hard, but the output is starting to drop. The quality of the work, the speed of the work, how much that work is producing by way of growth to our business. So if all of our management and all of our focus is focused on inputs, well, the inputs haven't changed. They're working just as hard. They're showing up to just as many meetings. And yet, speed is slowing down. Quality is diminishing. We're not getting as much done. I'm hiring more and more people, but they're getting less and less done. We need to shift our management focus from inputs to outputs, which means I don't care how hard you work. I don't care how many tasks you're checking off every day. What is the result? What is the output that every single person at my company is driving to the business? And how do we measure that? So this is absolutely key, is that we not only need to shift our focus, but we actually need to set measurable outcomes that every single role in our company is measured against and held accountable to. Because that way, we're able to clearly measure, hey, this person is responsible for producing this much output, but instead they're only producing this much. Aha! That's the gap. Now we know where the underperformance is and what we need to do to close the gap. So I'm going to break down tactically exactly how to do this. But first we need to dive into, why is this critical? Why is it so important that every single member of our team be measured based off of their output? And what is the cost of failing to do that? Or we see an underperformance gap, but we wait way too long to do something about it. Underperformance costs us in two ways. The first one is obvious, right? Which is that I am spending a bunch of money for this person to underperform, where this person could be producing up here this much output, this much growth, this much revenue. Instead, they're producing down here, but it's costing me the same amount. The gap between these two things is actually profit, right? It costs you this much. Are you getting this much output or this much output? It costs you the same. Either way, the difference is how much you get in return. And the gap between these two things of leveling up our underperformance and only having top performers on our team, this gap right here becomes profit in your business. So it is incredibly expensive to have underperformers on your team. The second way it costs you profit is a little bit more subtle, which is that A players, when surrounded by B and C players, will do one of two things. They will either quit because A players don't want to feel like their time and energy is being wasted compensating for somebody else's underperformance. So your best people will actually just leave, and obviously that's incredibly expensive and costly to you. Or their performance will actually fall to meet the lowest common denominator, and you will have lost a potential A player level of performance simply because we didn't course correct the B and C players sooner. So the solution is never just give it more time. Maybe they'll get better. We just need to train them more. If there is underperformance right now on your team, it is absolutely imperative that you identify where that gap is and put an immediate action plan in place to either close that gap or get that underperformer off the bus. So how do we do that? So step one is we set and raise the bar. And again, this is about outcomes. We need to define success, define an A player, define highest level of performance in every single role. The tool that we use to do that with our clients is called the job scorecard. And in that job scorecard, we are putting measurable KPIs for every single role. We are literally saying, here is the bar. Here is the minimum acceptable standard for what you can produce in this role and be successful here. So if right now the bar is down here, the bar is set at B and C level performance, we're going to use the job scorecard to literally raise the bar and make the bar measurable, make it tangible so that your team, probably for the first time, can actually see, here's the bar. I either need to rise to meet it, or I'm not going to be in this job for very long. And when we do that, something absolutely magical happens. Our A players will rise. They'll be like, oh my God, thank God. I just needed to know where you wanted me to go. Get out of the way. Let me run. I will rise. I will get there. Your B and C players will say things like, hate where all this pressure is coming from. Hate all this accountability. Hate all these targets. I wish we could go back to the way things were. And they will literally self-select off the bus. So that's step number one, is we raise the bar. Okay, we now identified a bunch of performance gaps, right? Probably most people on our team were operating down here, and we now need to get them to operate up here. We need to figure out and let the A players self-identify on who actually has what it takes to rise to meet the new standards that have been set. And this requires a whole lot of curiosity. So let's say that you've now set the bar up here, you have somebody that you think is really good, but they're performing down here. The magical question, the absolute next step, is not to fire them, is not to jump to conclusions around why they're underperforming, it's to get curious. The magical phrase is help me understand. Because we set the bar up here. We agreed that these were the standards for the role, and right now you're performing down here. We can see that, we can measure that. There's a performance gap here. Help me understand. I genuinely want to know, where is this coming from? Is it that you lack knowledge or training on how to get this done? Is it that you're too overworked or overwhelmed to produce the level of quality that we need you to? Is there maybe something personal happening in your life that's preventing you from working your hardest? Help me understand. Here's the thing, without getting curious, we will never get to the root cause. Maybe the actual problem is that they're going through a terrible breakup right now and their dog just died, and in 30 days they're going to be just fine. But on the surface, we're just looking at them not delivering on the outcomes, we're blaming them or coming up with all of these ideas around why they're not good enough or why they're not going to be able to close the gap. And without that curiosity, we will jump to the wrong conclusion. We'll solve the wrong problem. And probably what we're going to end up doing is firing a total A player who just needed 30 days to be sad and then can bounce back and get back to work. So curiosity is how we do the diagnostic to make sure we're getting to the right root cause problem of where is this underperformance coming from. And then we can build a game plan with them to course correct that underperformance, get them back up to standard, and keep working together happily ever after. And again, when we do this correctly, we shouldn't just see an improvement in team performance. We're actually going to see an improvement in company profitability. The cost of having the wrong person in the role, on average, is 1 to 3x their annual salary. Fun fact. So let's say that you have a salesperson. Let's say that you're paying this salesperson $100K a year. To have the wrong salesperson in the role, to have an underperforming salesperson, is going to cost you somewhere between $100,000 to $300,000. So it is incredibly expensive for us to allow this underperformance to just persist. On the flip side, if we take proactive action to make sure we have top performers in every single role, we unlock massive amounts of productivity, which translates into massive amounts of profitability within our business. Your company will literally become more profitable as your team raises the bar and excels in their performance. Team is actually only one of 6 hidden profit centers inside of your business. If you want to know what the other 5 are, and you want a free tool to help you diagnose and find where profit right this second is leaking out of your business through hidden profit leaks, things like team underperformance, then we actually created a tool. We call it the Hidden Profit Finder. You can grab it. There's a link in the description. It's totally free. It takes like 10 minutes. And it's going to tell you where exactly in your business is profit leaking out of the company right now, and what can you do to find those leaks and close them and start becoming more profitable tomorrow. So that piece is really important, that we understand why something like team underperformance is actually a profit problem. Because reframed through that lens, all of a sudden, it becomes incredibly ROI positive for us to find and correct underperformance on the team, which we have covered 2 of our 3-step process here. Step 1, raise the bar, set new outcomes. Step 2, get curious and understand where and why performance gaps are happening across your team. Step 3 is we transfer ownership over those performance gaps. So what does that sound like? It sounds like, hey, salesperson, we've agreed that the outcome associated with this role is a minimum average of a 25% conversion rate, right? I'm making up some numbers here, 25% conversion rate. Right now, you are performing at a 20% conversion rate. So help me understand, where is this coming from, right? That's step number 2, get curious. And what are you going to do about it to close this gap and meet your KPIs in the next 30 days? When we transfer ownership to them, we will have unlocked motivation, we will have unlocked hidden performance, and we will make it entirely clear to them that it is their responsibility to close this gap, right? It's our responsibility to set that gap clearly so they understand what it is that they need to do. But it is their responsibility to rise. It is their responsibility to ask for training or get the support that they need. It's their responsibility to read the books or go through the courses. It's their responsibility to figure this thing out with their girlfriends so that they can come back to work and perform at their best. Ownership lies with them, which means our A players will rise. A players thrive in environments of radical ownership. B and C players don't want the ownership. They don't want the pressure. They don't want the responsibility. So when we transfer ownership to them, when we make it their responsibility to increase their performance and meet the targets that we have set, that is what separates out our A players. They will rise. They will get the resources. They will ask for help. They will become proactive in solving this problem. Your B and C players will stay reactive, will start complaining, will drag their feet, and we're going to be able to measure that in the results. They are literally not going to move the needle. They're not going to close the performance gap. And in that high pressure environment, they'll probably just quit, or within 30 days, we'll know that they're not the right fit for the role. And we will be able to confidently say, yep, they're not the right fit. I have given them every opportunity and set them up for success. I now feel confident that I can let them go. So this is the 3-step process to finding and fixing underperformance within our team. Number 1, we set measurable outcomes and we raise the bar. Number 2, we get curious about why and where there are performance gaps between our team's performance and the measurable outcomes that we have set. And then number 3, we transfer and keep ownership with them. Following this framework, your A players are going to level up, your B and C players are going to get off the bus, and you will be left with only an A player top performing team where everybody is hitting or exceeding the targets that you have set for them, and you will no longer have that niggling feeling of like, I feel like my team is underperforming, but I'm just not sure where, I'm just not sure why. Okay, now there is a very important caveat in all of this, which is that the problem may not be your team. And instead, it might be the systems and the ecosystem that we have put around them, where our company is actually not setting them up for success and to do their best work. So it becomes very important to make sure that we're not just setting expectations, but we are actually supporting and setting our team up in such a way where they could successfully meet those expectations. And to do that, I've created a whole video on how to redesign your team systems so that they are set up for success and can perform at their absolute highest. So if you want it, go grab it. That is the link to the follow-up video, and it is a super important one to pair with this core concept to make sure that we aren't accidentally firing top performers who we just didn't empower with the right systems for them to do their best work. All right, I will see you over there and catch you on the next one.